before we started, we were talking about how with this massive age gap, it almost felt like we had 5 of us in one like family system, and then the other 5 of us in another family system. So while we say we have we're in a family of 10 siblings, I don't even really know what you feel like about your role in your family cluster, your core cluster,
right,
versus my experience. And I'm wildly curious about, today's topic of how our childhood conditioning kind of nudged or drove us to the fire service because of our different experiences. So this is going to be fascinating to hear.
Yeah. I mean, when there's a 16-year age gap between you and I, right?
Yeah, you can't really help.
No. And like you said, just because there were 10 of us, that we weren't all in the house at the same time.
Yeah.
You could have been my mom, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, second mom too. It
was like we were just really split in the middle with the older 5 and then the younger 5. And it didn't really it did not, to me, feel like there was a ton of overlap between those 2 systems.
Yeah.
Right.
By the time you were, so if I kind of moved out, so to speak, by the time I was 23-ish. Oh my gosh, you were so little. You were 7. That's so weird. That's so crazy. So there wasn't a lot of overlap cohesion then. I know I've talked about in season 1 just my experiences being the oldest, kind of mother hen, caretaker, caregiver, always looking out for everybody else. What do you feel like was your role in the family that kind of is something that nudged you into the fire service in a really natural way? That role prepared you for the role in the fire service.
Right. I mean, I've been trying to think about it because it's really hard to pinpoint, because I feel I don't know, when you think about your childhood, right, I feel like things went really, you can be oh yeah, things went really well for me up to a certain age, right?
You remember highlights and lows.
Right. But I feel once I hit 8 or 9, that was when we moved from Washington over to Missouri, so that the older 4 could study music, right? And then we moved, our housing situation was up in the air, we lived in a motel for 2 months because we couldn't find a house, right, which was horrible. And then so then it was just, once we moved, it was one thing after another of just negative things happening. And
you were from 8. From 8, there was this series of unfortunate events.
This big shift, right, where it felt like I went from being a kid to oh, it doesn't really feel like I'm so much of a kid anymore, right? So
because you were in our parents' the house that they built from birth until 8, so everything was stable, everything was you had nature around you.
It was great, honestly. Yeah. And then we moved, and now we're living in the motel. We're split up into a couple of rooms, and then we were there for 2 months, and we get a house, and things are going well. Then we have the car accident, and then we have dad's surgeries, and then dad lost his job, and just thing after thing after thing after thing. And being not super financially stable, so mom's pinching pennies, mom is crying all the time, all this, and it really felt starting around then where it was I felt like it was my job to try to take as many things off of mom's plate as possible, because
which is crazy because you were the second youngest,
yeah. So in theory I had been having all my needs catered to me for my whole life, right? And then suddenly I felt this switch of now it's my turn, right? Now it's my turn to step up, and now it's my turn to help mom with anything she needs. So that was really when it all mostly started, and it started with mom, because mom was the most special person to me. I had lots of separation anxiety as a child with her specifically, and as I got older, it felt I could give back, right?
I mean, that's still crazy young age to feel that kind of pressure. So you were in St. Louis from 8 till
It was right before my 15th birthday.
Okay, so about 6 years.
6 years, yeah. So formative years, going through all this stress and instability, and yeah, Mom was the first person I felt like I needed to help take care of, and which is like completely different from you, because you had the 9 siblings you were taking care of. You weren't necessarily worried about taking care of Mom. You were just
Actually, I felt so much pressure that I didn't feel like I had to take care of the siblings for Mom. I felt like I had to take care of the siblings for Mom. Like being her right-hand woman. So that, because I remember like moments where she like put an apron over her head in the kitchen and was crying. But this was before moving to St. Louis. And I felt like if I could stabilize the siblings and like be another mother to them, she would have less to manage. And I'm not saying that like I saw Mom as like this weak person, right? Like she, I would in no lifetime want to be in charge of raising 10 humans.
Oh my
God. So it wasn't that, like, she's one of the strongest people we know, but I was so concerned about Mom being okay, and I felt like the way that I could help her be okay was to take care of all of these other little humans in a way that took load off of her plate. So that's really interesting that for you, it was kind of a direct relationship. For me, it was indirect, but also you only had like one sister who was younger than you.
Right.
And I had all of the siblings who were under me. So that's so interesting that even with this age gap, we both really felt like we had to take care of Mom.
Yeah. How do you feel like it would make a lot of sense that there would be a pretty seamless, like, correlation with you having to take care of so many siblings to you, like, finding your role in the fire service, but it still took you some time to find that, right? So, like, how do you feel like caring for all the siblings has helped you in getting your job as a firefighter?
Well, I feel like in the sense I was asked to play a role in taking care of people since I was like 4 years old, right? So I kind of see it as a subconscious programming, like that was what I was asked to do, and so I did it, versus that's what I specifically chose to do. But I don't think that being raised to be a caregiver was good or bad. It kind of just was. It became more of a positive when I stopped doing it in like a subconscious habitual pattern where I just kept choosing to care for everybody else instead of caring for myself, because part of that was cultivated by, like there just was always someone more pressing who needed caring for because they couldn't do it for themselves. So it wasn't like I felt like I wasn't important enough per se, but someone else was always more important. And so I think that I developed a lot of skill sets in like walking into a room and being able to read the room, and noticing when someone looked like they were off, or reading social cues like facial expressions and body language and tone. So all of these like individual skills kind of bolstered and grew over my lifetime, so that once I got into the fire service, I have the ability now to kind of take those really subtle nuances and apply them and show up in my job in that way. But there was a period where I had to learn what it was to actually be present and conscious to make that decision, whereas instead of it being just a subconscious pattern, meaning like I feel this intense urge that I have to do this.
When do you feel like that shift happened?
That shift happened last June.
Oh, so like very recently.
Very recently. Okay. Because of a medicine journey.
Okay.
So that medicine journey was, no, I'm sorry. This is 2 years ago. So still really recent, fairly recent. But
40 years old.
Yeah, it was, where I was like, I had this moment that, wow, I can choose to be an empowerer. I can look at a situation and decide, how do I want to show up for this? Is it my responsibility? Do I have the energy for it? Like I could make very specific intentional choices to show up for someone or to show up in a way that helped them show up for themselves, which is really a different way to look at it, right?
Yeah, and like all of us being homeschooled too, like there was no escape.
Yeah.
There was no escape. Like, I mean, what was like the environment like of having to take care of so many siblings like all the time? Like I feel like we were generally pretty good kids, but like that's just me. I didn't have to take care of the 7 who came before me or the 8 who came before me.
It's so interesting that you had a very different environment of chaos than I had. So when I was young, there were 4 of us under the age of 6, and Mom had the twins and then our sister, and so I very much from that young age was like second mom, right? Mm-hmm. And that was all actually fairly stable. It was, as we had more kids, it was a different chaos. Like it was making sure everybody was fed, making sure everybody did their chores, making sure
got their school done.
They got their school done, and I helped with that. And then and then once we moved to Washington, we all got into music, and then we got into extra programs. So we would be gone all day long doing homework in the car and 3 days a week while everyone did lessons and orchestras and all of this. So it was a different kind of chaos. It wasn't necessarily emotional instability, but it was just, there was always everything going on. And so another skill I had to learn was, in one way, like detaching a little bit from everything that was going on around me so that I could like focus my attention to the task at hand. Otherwise I would never get any school done. I would never be able to take a breather on my own, just because there was so much going on in that capacity. So that's really interesting too, that the chaos looked so different for us both, but it was still very much there.
Yeah.
That said, I think one theme with chaos is you're constantly having to evaluate how to get your needs met. Because there's so much going on, there's so much happening, it's overwhelming, it's like overstimulating. And so in that, we both took to like taking care of other people as the means to getting our needs met. Which is really curious if you look at now being in the fire service, how is that answered? Like, we're still living in that pattern, or we have the ability to live in that pattern, but the fire service is like the opposite of getting your needs met. Like, it sucks things out of you if you let it and if you're not boundaried. So how would you say that has shifted for you?
The universal, I was actually talking to someone about this just recently, which was that like the universal question that everybody has in them, whether they know it or not, is how do I get my needs met?
This was Jay, wasn't it?
I'm not gonna
shout out Jay.
How do I get my needs met, right? And I mean, I've been in fire now for, too long, like 7 years. I'm 26, and I still quite haven't figured out how to balance that, right? I feel like I'm getting better at coming off shift, taking care of myself, all that. But when we go into work, I feel like that's like the sacrifice that we're making, right? Of we go into work and we are acknowledging the fact that for the next 24, 48, 72 hours, we belong to the community. We are there to help them get their needs met for whatever it is, right? So the only way that we can really like balance that is self-care when we're not at work and trying to do fun things and, you know, doing the things that you can to take care of yourself, which is what I have been working really hard to do, but I still don't feel like I have answered that question of how to do both.
Well, but if you think about it, I think it's completely reasonable that that question's not answered because you had a lifetime so far of being in that cycle pattern. So, you know, it's like if you've had 22 years in one way of being, it's going to take some time to get into a new mode of being.
When growing up, like in our childhood and in your childhood, taking care of all these people, did you ever have that moment growing up where you like had to stop and you like where you got like hit by that train of I need to take care of my own needs before I can help my siblings?
Not even really. No.
I mean, yeah, when we're homeschooled and we're around each other all the time, when there's no
I mean,
escape.
You were 3 years old when I was 20. You know, like you're taking care of a 3-year-old at 20. Their needs are going to come before your own, and that was just constant for me. Oh, absolutely. But that was just constant for me. We might have to throw up that photo of me and Nat when I was 16 and she was 3, just to give a reference point because it's so cute. I showed Alex the other day and she just could not believe it. So not in the slightest.
So chaos at home into a chaotic job as an adult. Like, was there a point when you were growing up where you realized that, like, there was an emergency, there was something that happened, and you saw that, like, you responded to that different than normal people?
Yes. Yes. When Mom had her accident with the shower, the fluke accident, where it was, like, one shower...
Were you there? Were you in the room?
I was there. Well, I was just outside the room. So Mom was washing a dog. There was a circular glass shower that she was washing the dog in, and fluke, 1 in 100,000, these shower doors break, and it was on her mom. So like, it was 2 centimeters from her artery.
Yeah.
And it just sliced open her arm, and she screamed, and I ran in there. Dad was on that same floor, so he ran in there, and just like blood gushing from Mom's arm. You weren't inside the... I was
doing homework at the table.
There was
Abigail and Emily were in there.
Okay, so there were 2 sisters in the bathroom, the dog, and then Mom. And I got in there probably within 4 or 5 seconds, and like she was already white, like a sheet of white. And that was so, like, to this day, I remember the feeling of going in the bathroom and just feeling like everything slowed down and came internal. And, like, I had this incredible, like, focus and calm. I don't know if maybe that was also shock. Like, if shock has the ability to manifest in that way. But it was like, all right, towel on Mom's arm. Get the little ones out. Pass them along to Benjamin. You know, like, move the dog. So all of these, like, it almost was like I became an organizer of that calm because Dad was... so focused on just Mom, right? Like, understandably so, that I felt like I was a bit of a conductor in the scene. Like, okay, the girls do this, Ben do that, Brandon help these two. Like, so... You
were the officer on scene.
Yeah, I was totally the officer.
You were managing everything.
Yes.
Dad was on patient care.
Yes, exactly. And so that was kind of a really interesting clue to me that, like, I wasn't...
That went well.
That went well. All things considering. Our dad had, like, a really difficult manager at the time, and so Dad was like, Christina, I need you to, like, here's my boss's phone number. I need you to call him, tell him what went on, that, like, I can't make this meeting, but I'll, like, call, which I remember being like, wow, that's a really effed up boss if, like, you're having to ask your, I don't remember how old I was. Do you remember how old you were? You were still pretty tiny.
5 or 6.
Yeah, you're still really
no
little.
older than 6, surely.
Yeah. So that was probably like the pivotal point for me. And then when our siblings had like injuries, like Daniel being so tall and lanky, dislocating his knee, or when like the door's huge, massive, is it oak?
Yeah.
Oak door slammed and like nearly sliced your finger off.
Yep.
I was put in charge in all of those situations. So I've often joked that like I probably would make a way better officer than a firefighter because of all of this.
Bro, promote.
No way. 0 way. I've seen good officers and bad officers, and I feel like I would only aspire to be a really, really good officer. And they put so much energy into being a good officer. I don't feel like that's my calling in life at the moment. But so like, yeah, that was kind of my role in chaos, was to like organize it and like take a sense of what needed to be done and then help like execute it. What about for you? Because you were way younger in these circumstances.
Right.
So I feel like in some ways I had a lot of autonomy and like say in an active role in the chaotic circumstances, whereas you being so much younger, you didn't, like, you were never in charge. You never had the, like, you were always someone who was going to be directed or, like, didn't have a lot of power in the situation. So that would feel really different.
Yeah. You know, and it's funny that we're talking about, like, this accident that happened with Mom, because I want to bring up 2 really interesting things that I just realized. So, two sisters were in the room with Mom when this happened, right? And then there was a third sister who I think ran in and then ran out to call 911, right? And I just remember hearing her sobbing on the phone with 911 as she's explaining what happened, right? And then I, like, kind of got ushered out, but I was standing at the bottom stairs when the firefighters came in, and they brought their med kits. Like, I remember hearing their boots and watching them go in and all this. But, like, you know, the 2 sisters that were in the room, one of them is a firefighter. One of them is not. The one who, like, was really traumatized by that did not go into fire. The third sister who made the 911 call did not go into fire, right? So you're talking about how you, like, oh yeah, like, I took charge of the scene and I organized and I did this, this, and this, right? You thrived, right? There were other people who, like, exact same scene, they were there and they chose a different path in life because they were not able to handle the trauma, the stress, and all of that. And it was just a really interesting thing that I just thought of like,
juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, it goes to say, I know that we, as individuals, we have different, like, personality strengths also that I think can be brought out or shut down based on our, like, environment. Some things that maybe, if they weren't nurtured, would have been not as much of a strength. So I think that there are definitely, it's possible that not everybody has, like, those, just in a personality sense, not even, like, a nurturing from chaos. But I do know a lot of first responders come from backgrounds where they felt like they had to be the one who was the caregiver. They had so much trauma. Emergencies felt normal. And so that's, I think, a very, very common theme amongst us, but also our personalities are as such that we dive in, right? Like, the emergency is something we run to versus most people, like, want to run away from or they freeze with. So for you, like, do you think it was the not having a lot of power in those situations that made you
absolutely
motivated to run towards Interesting.
I felt like you said, like, when you're in a position of powerlessness, right, you can, like, there's, like, 2 routes that you can go, which is, like, how do I get myself out because I want to take the power back versus accepting it, right? And I feel like I really went in the direction of, I don't ever want to have to feel this way again, right? I want to be better. I want to do different. I want to be able to help the next time something like this happens, right? Which I think is ultimately how I got to be in this job. Right. Like.
Also why, as we talked about last episode, you wanted to be so good.
Mm-hmm. Gotta be the best.
Because if you're the best, that also means that you aren't as powerless.
I mean, yeah, like I kind of said, like, it wasn't about being better than you or being better than X, but it was knowing that I have in me the ability to do so much more and to be so much more.
To be empowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
So for a lot of first responders, they start becoming, like, addicted to chaos, and I think that is a layer of the subconscious programming, right? Like, it's just familiar, so it's what we choose, even though it's not always healthy.
Right. And I would say even you've had an issue with that. But coming up to what you said 2 years ago, you realized, I need to start taking care of my own needs. How do I get my own needs met, right? And, like, I could see that you being addicted to all that from starting with having all the younger siblings, then the mom's accident thing, and then you always have your plate full with so many things, and the chaos. And chaos not in the sense of, things are chaotic, things are bad, right? But
catastrophe, yeah.
Yeah, but chaos in the sense of there are always so many things going on, right? And, like...
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely see, like, what you resist persists is this phrase I think is so interesting. So I resisted quiet and calm and stillness and opportunities to, when opportunities came to, like, find that or have some of that, I shut it out and resisted it. So because growing up I always had someone there, that became what I looked for. Looking for someone to always take care of, even though I needed to take care of myself. And, like, even with what I learned from my health challenges before I became a firefighter, that's really when I take that back. I realized that I deliberately needed to take care of myself when I was being treated for Lyme disease. That was, like, a big shift. Like, I have to be an active participant in my care because if I don't...
And how old were you when...
29, I think. I think 29. Because 2014 to 2017, so 11 years ago. So, yeah, 29. Okay. That's when I realized that nobody can take care of me as well as I can take care of myself. And so very slowly, a lot of things shifted in that process that I learned I had to be engaged in caring for myself. But I don't say I wouldn't say that that's when I learned that I was caring, like, I naturally, instinctively look to care for other people before myself. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
So 2 years ago, I learned that I instinctively, because of this programming, looked to care for other people first.
Okay.
But before that, I just didn't know what it was to take care of myself. So I learned in Lyme disease what that looked like. I think I just always looked to fill voids that would create a dynamic in which I needed to care for someone else first. But I think that I've, like, massively shifted out of that. So now I do look for, like, quiet and stillness, and I have activities that promote that in my life. And I
have a question.
Recognize I need to be more boundaried.
I have a question, kind of going a little off topic. Do you feel like that feeling of always needing to care for someone else, do you feel like that is a generational trauma kind of thing? Do you think that goes back to our mom having a house full of kids so she didn't have to worry about taking care of herself if she's always focusing on taking care of other people, going back to her mom and, all of that?
Believe it or not, I actually think it's related to I think there's a component related to generational trauma, but I think it is related to us being descendants of slaves. Because both that there's always someone else we have to care for, because if we didn't care for them well, our lives were on the line.
Right.
Both that and that, like, I need to be better than everybody else, because that was our value. So as slaves, your value is how well you can care for and show up for your owners. And so many, like, well, our family specifically, it's like your value is in what you do. And I mean, like, Dad's family, our Black family, because we have, like, all the educators, the principals, the, like, you know, they climbed the ladder, so to speak.
Right.
So very much the value, it was in what you do. And I think that that's related to generational trauma there. Yeah.
Do you still feel like that in your job with your crew in your house, that, like, your value is based off of what you can do or, like, what you bring to the table?
I think it's much less now, but it's really interesting you say that. We had this conversation the other day that there's a quote that someone told me in male-dominated industries, men are hired for their potential and women are hired for what they're capable of. And I think that that's extremely true.
Woof.
Yeah, it's very heavy, but I think it's completely true. So in the fire service...
Say that one more time.
Men are hired for their potential. Women are hired for what they're capable of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think in the fire service, like, I have my crew that's like this tiny nucleus of a family that we very much value each other, but even more in a broad sense, like station or fire response area, that is completely different. And we have conversations on, like, how do we create reputations that show our value based on what the demographic values. So, like, for example, aggression, like, you know, being aggressive is something that Portland's all about. So my officer's like, you know, the two girls on his crew, he's like, you can make a good name for yourself by being aggressive. To which I replied, I, like, sat with that for a little bit, and I was like, I never actually want to be defined in any way as aggressive. Like, that is not a positive connotation to me.
Yeah.
What I can identify with is, like, being a go-getter and getting it done. So, like, maybe in that context, that's more appropriate. But, like, for women, aggression in the definition, like, towards us, like, is not welcome. So,
right.
But it's a really curious difference between, like, male and female, right? So, so no, that is definitely still a part of what I think we deal with, and I think it's just a matter of, like, learning how to navigate that in a way that still feels authentic, but we're valued. How do you feel about that? Like, with, I feel like you still got some learning to do.
In regards to what specifically?
In regards to not being addicted to chaos.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a lot better over the last year, because I graduated high school, I went into my sleeper program, you know, did a year of school while working these intense, you know, 300-400 hour month minimums, and then medic school immediately, and then FTO, and then, like, the program I went through was just insane. Finished medic school. I had been a medic for, like, you know, 4 months, and then I got hired at Gresham, and then I came up here, and then it's academy, and then it's FTO again, and all that. And then I hadn't even finished probation before I got sent into the floater pool, because I excelled, I did so well. I, you know, finished my FTO, finished AO school, and they were like, okay, cool, we need you over here, go. And it was like, you know, all of the rest of my crewmates, they were getting stations, they were getting their communities, they were getting to know people, and I am in the floater pool, you know, just
thrown into the wide open.
The only floating medic on my shift, so I really was getting my chain jerked every which way, which I enjoyed, right? Being addicted to chaos, because I was like, yeah, cool. You know, there was part of it where it was like, oh, cool, if I'm a floater, right, I can just kind of, like, put my hands back and be like, someone could ask me a question and be like, hey, do you know where this is in the station? And I'd be like, I'm a floater, sorry, I don't know where anything is, right? So I could really absolve myself of some responsibility, which was great. But I was a floating medic for, like, 3 years, right? And this last summer, like, almost a full year ago, I got my first house, like, my first real house. And I got this house because someone retired, and it's the house where we run probably less than 800 calls a year, right?
Oh, wow.
So, like, I think I went 2 weeks without running a single call recently, which was amazing.
Are you serious?
But, like, when I first got out there, it was kind of difficult because it was, like, going from...
you're forced to slow down.
Right? So instead of, like, having my days filled with, running calls, doing chores and everything, it's like we're out in the countryside and you wake up and the sun comes up and it's this serene field with flowers and you can sit and have your coffee and watch the little coyotes play in the field. And, like, it was like learning how to be okay with myself when it was still, right? Which then I just tried to throw myself into projects around the station.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I had been running addicted to the chaos, to the busyness from, like, high school up until now, which, I mean, 6 or 7 years. And once I stopped and started putting more self-care, like, into myself, right, I just have, like, lots of people asking me now, like, oh, how is it out there at that station? You going crazy yet? And I'm like, I'm having the best time.
You're like, I am the Buddha.
And they're like, are you ready to get out of there or what? I was there for a year and, like, I was going crazy. And I was like, I think I want to milk this for as long as possible because, like, the fire service is all about longevity, right? You don't want to, you sure, be addicted to the chaos and be in the career for 25 years, but you're going to end up like, one of the old geezers that's just, like, has a really negative outlook on everything. Your health is bad, all this, because you're not taking care of yourself and you're not meeting your own needs, right?
Do you feel like there ever came a point, I guess I have to say, too, I don't know if you can be in this job and not be okay in chaos, but there's a difference with knowing how to navigate and thrive in chaos because you're intentional versus...
I would disagree.
Really?
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I mean, I'm sure you know this too. I think all of us can relate to being on a crew, whether it's floating or someone in your crew, and you just look at this person, you're like, why are you here? How are you here? How did you get here? Because I saw how you performed on that last scene, and you just kind of fell apart, right?
Yeah.
But it goes again towards, like you said, of men getting hired versus women getting hired, right? And, like, we really do have to push ourselves so much further to get, like, just as far as everybody else. But I think, sorry, I just had to interject. I disagree because I think there are a lot of people in this job who shouldn't be in this job. But these people, maybe they grew up, like, in the trauma, in the chaos and everything, and so that's what feels familiar to them.
Yeah.
That's why they're here, is because it's comfortable. They hate being out in the stillness like I did when I got my house, right? But maybe they don't have, like, the self-awareness enough to realize that, or to know that this maybe isn't for them. It's just, like, it's just what feels like home to them. Which actually brings me to my next question for you, which was, like, with all of the chaos, like, that you grew up with in your house, when you got into the fire service, when I think you worked partial shifts when you were in academy, right? Like, you weren't, no. So when you finished academy, when you got on the line, when you walked into the house, like, did you feel like you were stepping into, like, a familiar environment?
Absolutely.
It felt that home for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it felt very much like, I can do this.
In what ways?
I think, it's, the tones go off and you feel excitement versus, like, dread. Or,
even growing up with as many brothers taking care of them, I'm sure you felt just really comfortable, like, just working in a male-dominated field, because it's like, oh.
Exactly. Yeah, again, familiar. I remember that first day, again, so my shift was A shift, and they were so big into, like, being aggressive, like, just full send every single rep. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I think maybe it was more like, there's no other option, so the only way out is through. So I kind of, like, just accepted that versus it being like, oh yeah, let's go full send. But it very much felt like, okay, I can do that. Which, it's fascinating. I found it so interesting that in academy, my struggle was, can I do this, as in the individual skills? But when I got to our 6-month training station, having all those skills in pieces come together, the overall job itself, like, everything clicked.
You never doubted it.
Yeah. So that was really interesting because a lot of people find the reverse. Like they love academy, they fly through it, and then they get to 2s, and it's like,
bro,
put everything together and like the job. And for me, that felt so natural. Like it made sense.
You met people who liked academy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there are people who like thought academy was just like posh. Kush, not posh, kush.
Were any of them female?
Yeah.
Ugh. Wow, they do belong. They're right at home there, aren't they?
But do you feel like, what do you feel like you were avoiding did you feel like you were avoiding anything in looking for that familiar chaos? Or was it just, this was just the pattern?
I mean, I feel like I kind of echo your sentiment in like the whole avoiding the quiet, avoiding the silence, right? We were homeschooled and we had 9 siblings. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a quiet moment in the house? Yeah. If it's quiet, there's something wrong. Right? So like, yeah, I feel like,
where are the children?
Yeah.
It's quiet.
What's going on? What are they lighting on fire outside? Like what,
It's true.
So like, yeah, I feel like.
Has that changed for you? That now in the quiet, there isn't anything wrong?
I'm getting there. Yeah. I think it's been a very slow, hard journey, but more conversations with more friends of being like, like your life is your own and it's what you make it.
Yeah.
And like learning to be happy and content and okay with yourself in the silence and realizing that like when you are by yourself, you're alone, but you're not lonely. Mm-hmm. And really, that's mostly what I've really been trying to work on this last year. Which is like, yeah, it's been hard because I am an introverted person, but but like still growing up in our household, like I still love to be around people and I still love the energy that comes from that. But learning to be happy in the alone without feeling, oh, I'm so lonely because I'm by myself. Yeah. It's like, no, like. Take the quiet and take the stillness, right? It's been a very hard growth journey for me for that.
I think it is for most first responders, to be honest. Now that you're 26, but you're still the same, like your true self was there, whether you were 6 or 26, what would you say if you had 5 minutes with your 8-year-old self, the one that was having to take care of mom, knowing what you know now about caretaking and about chaos and getting your needs met? What would you say to that version of yourself?
I don't think I would have a lot of advice for her, honestly. I think the younger me really did the best with the circumstances and the best with what she had, honestly. Honestly, I feel like I did a pretty freaking good job because, like, being able to pivot from everyone's taking care of me to I need to take care of mom with, like, nothing in between. Like, I really figured it out pretty quick. And that probably came from watching you and watching everyone else learn how to take care of other people. So when it was my turn, it felt pretty easy to just step up and do it. But to be honest, I don't think I would have a whole lot to say to her other than, like, yeah, you're doing great. Like, you're just going to have to do it the way you have been. Like, I mean, do you feel like you would have much to say to your
I want to touch on that shows, like, your core inner resilience is just a natural quality. And I know we don't really like the word resilience, but, like, the get it done-ness, the, like, you got this sense that was always there.
I mean, sure, I guess. I don't know. Like, I mean, like, what would you tell? Like I said, like, what would you tell your younger self? Would you have her do anything differently?
It's funny. Our producer, JD, and I had this conversation the other day, and he kind of said a similar thing to you, that I don't know that I would tell him anything because everything that we've gone through in life has got us here. So, like, why would you change anything? What could you change? Anything that you could change would lead to a different outcome. But I think I would tell her, you've got this, and never hesitate to give yourself a little extra love. Because, again, back to that, comment that you made about we're always looking to get our needs met, I think it can be a lifelong lesson if it is ever learned that us loving ourselves is the best way to get our needs met. And I think a lot of people struggle with loving themselves, and like not just from a standpoint of what it looks like in a broad sense, but like what does it look like in a way that it truly resonates and hits home for yourself. And so I think, like, when I was in Lyme disease, realizing that I could take care of myself better than anybody else could take care of me, that if there was a way for me to encapsulate a little nugget of that to her, I probably would, because the truth is, when we're taking care of ourselves, we're going to be able to better take care of anyone else in our lives too. We may use more intention on who gets that energy. It may not be like as chaotically like cast out into the world, where it may or may not be appreciated by randos. But yeah, I probably would tell her that you're gonna get the most out of your life loving yourself as best as you can.
Do you think if she had known that, do you think that it would have continued the trajectory to...
I think she would have had no clue how to do that, or, my hope would be that in opportunities where she had to, or my hope would be that if she ever saw opportunities where she could see like, oh, maybe that's a way I can love myself, that she would take them more often. But I don't know that she would recognize or know what that would even look like. But I think putting that seed might be something that she would start looking for earlier in life.
My question was, do you think it would have still landed you in the fire service?
That's a good question.
Do you think she would have taken that a different direction? We'll never know, but like...
We'll never know, but to be honest, I've had this really weird sense that I'm here in the fire service for a reason that oftentimes, because of the challenges that I've faced, where I'm like, this is too much. Like, this is not worth it. I'm out. Like, every time I've had that feeling, the universe has literally, like, dropped a huge opportunity or, like, a confirmation in my lap in my life. So I've felt like I'm here for a reason, and it's sometimes really befuddling, and sometimes it's, like, very much confirming. But I do think that, to a degree, when I first looked at becoming a firefighter and I said, I think that all the skills I've developed in my life up to this point has led me to here and has prepared me for here, I still think that that's accurate. I just sometimes am really baffled why this and not like something else. But, I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like if you were to have told her, you got this, like, keep going, that would have shifted anything?
Probably. I mean, if I had just had a little bit more self-love in teenage years, it was funny. I saw something, the internet is an amazing place. And I saw something on the internet the other day.
It's also freaking weird.
And it was like, when you're 15, you feel so unlovable.
Yeah.
And you just feel like you're never going to find your place, and like, and nobody loves you, and this, and this. And someone was just like, girl, you're 15. It's like, no, you're not unlovable. You're just 15. Like, it's
That's
fine.
so funny. I had that same experience at 15 too. I just felt like I was like the most unlovable creature on the planet.
So I think if we had been cultivated to have a little bit more self-love, I still don't think it would have changed where I necessarily ended up. I think.
What's weird too, though, is coming from the religious background, we were taught to like love God above all else, and you loved your neighbor as yourself, but it was taken out of context that you love your neighbor more than yourself. So, like, self-love wasn't even anything that was discussed.
No, you're supposed to die to self.
Or modeled.
You know?
Yeah, you were supposed to die to yourself. So, like, I think that was really lacking, too, that may have accentuated that mindset of not looking for a way to love yourself, you know?
You know, and it's really interesting. I know we're coming up to the close of the episode, but it's really interesting that we just nailed upon the religious side in this talk of chaos and how we got into the fire service. And like you said, like loving your neighbor as yourself, right? Taking care of other people. That didn't just come from being at home and like seeing the need to take care of your siblings. That came from religion telling us, you know, to take care of other people and all that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I wish we would have hit that one a little sooner.
I know. Well, we'll have to hit that another time. Yeah. Well, I guess in closing, it's so cool that, you know, all of these experiences in life, you and I both have had medicine journeys. And it is really incredible to me that, like, everything just, like, leads to the next thing. And so, like, without a piece of something, we would be in a different place now. So I have, like, more and more this really profound sense of gratitude and acceptance of, like, the things that I've been through and the journey that I've taken and the lessons that I've learned, because I think now we both can use them in very intentional ways. We can use them in, like, ways to model to other people what it looks like, and just being, I think the representation of, like, these qualities and characteristics will have an outward shift in a way that is, like, the fire service really needs. Yeah. The fire service really needs people who are going to be proactive in taking care of themselves, in themselves, or who are proactive in, like, having boundaries and learning stillness and quiet. And the more that we can embody that, I think the better the fire service will be.
Nailed it.
So, I know we talked about, in closing, wanting to hear from our audience 2 questions, right?
Yeah.
One question was if they ever felt like stepping into the fire service and running towards emergencies felt more like home than the average picture of home. And then secondly, what topics and conversations they want us to have and put out there.
Because it's not just for us, this is for you guys too, right? This is for them.
The women in fire, women in first response, because, a rising tide lifts all boats, so.
You know what they say, behind every strong man is a stronger woman.
And behind every strong woman is, like,
other
7
women.
Other strong women.
Let's be the other women. Let's do it.
Let's do it.